If you had to describe the before Joseph and the after Joseph in 2 words, what would you say?
I'd say before Joseph, floundering. After Joseph is riding a wave with Christ.
Wow! Do these waves continue to surge in your professional career? And this time, are you able to manage them with your faith?
Absolutely. Before Christ, I would say that I had a quote unquote mapped out career where I started playing in the French league at 19. I didn't even have my name on the jersey. I was starting for FC Sochaux in big games like against the PSG of Ibrahimovic and all that. When you're 19 and you start playing matches like that, you expect to end up at Arsenal, Liverpool, all those big clubs. I dreamed about it like everyone else. It's in that very moment that the first big injury happened. And when it happens, it's like a descent into hell because you find yourself all alone, truly alone, with doctors telling you that you won't be able to play soccer anymore, it's over, and it's better for you to end your career. It's better to take the check that the Union of Football Players will give you and start thinking about a career change because it's impossible to play soccer again with what you have. So I refuse the check, I decide to continue, and as the days go by, I start having dreams where I see myself playing again. And I also actually got quite a few attacks, so to speak. And at some point, I had a clear dream that showed me in which jersey I would play again. So I refused the check, said I would play soccer again. And the doctors say I'm in denial, all that stuff. I say no. And when I went back to church with crutches as I couldn't walk, they prayed for me, and the crutches ended up on my shoulder, so to speak, as I left the church. 3 days later, I scored a goal, even though I had been walking with crutches for 6 months and couldn't put my foot down. That's the hand of Christ in my life.
What's this meteoric rise? What's the secret, Joseph?
The secret, I think, is Jesus Christ. Because I think that in my desert, He let me wander. He let me go see all the possible and imaginable people. And I think that in that moment, he was preparing his plan. And his plan was for me to end up face to face with him, to find myself in front of him, to see with my own eyes and from my own experience that everything I've been through, that it's his hand. It was really his hand who made the difference. When I was injured, we saw top specialists who saw my x-rays and MRIs, all had the same opinion. They all unanimously agreed that it was almost impossible to play soccer again, that I had to stop. And when I turn to the Bible and a lot of things start to make sense to me, to speak to me at that particular moment in my life, when I was reading the Bible, it was like discernment was living inside of me. I opened the Bible, read it, and understood it. A while back, I did the same thing, but there were biblical passages where I didn't get it. Luckily, I love philosophy. It's going to help me a bit to understand certain things, but otherwise it was tough for me to understand. So when I get to the church that day, and there were a lot of us in the church, and they asked me to come forward, to come to the front, and they prayed for me, saying that the faith I've always had, the prayers I've always made, because since I was little, I've always prayed. I don't remember spending a single night without praying, even if my faith wasn't like it is today. But it proves to me once again that God is working in me and working in us all the time, much longer than we think. And when I get in front of them and they pray, and while leaving the church, there was even a prophetess who tells me you're going to get some news when you leave the church. It's good news for you. And when I leave the church at the time, my coach was Hervé Renard. Who will be at the Olympics with the French women's team, by the way? Who is in Lille? He calls me as I'm leaving the church. My phone rings. I pick up. He says, Joe, how's it going? I said, yes. He asks me if I'm training. I said, no, it's been 6 months. He asks me if I'm okay. I was out of church and the Lord said it would be okay. So I said, I'm good. He tells me, you're going to Boulogne. I'm in Lille. I'll visit you. If you return to form, come to Lille. And I feel like I'm in a movie. This can't be real. He tells me Boulogne. What do? I grab my phone. I look up Boulogne and check out the jersey. They were in the third league back then. They saw that it had been months since I played soccer. I look at the jersey. I see a jersey that I saw in my dream. A red jersey with black stripes like in my dream, which I told my wife. I flipped my phone, showed her, and said Hervé Renard called and talked to me about that team. She looks at the phone, then me. She goes, "Let's go." At that moment, she had this faith inside her because she prayed. She tells me, "Let's go." Right there, I say, "Okay." The Boulogne director calls me, and I tell him I'm coming. I arrived, did tests, MRIs. We sat down. There's two club doctors, the president, him, and my agent. The two doctors said, "We're not signing him. Based on the tests, we're not signing him." Me, I still wasn't talking, just sitting there. And the director stands up, I didn't know him, says, "I'll make him sign, and if he doesn't play, I'll pay him with my salary." The president looks at him, says, "Are you sure?" He says yes. And then I start praying. I keep telling the Lord that I see his hand in my life. When he decides something, you see people around bow down. So he says that the two club doctors don't agree. The president said, "Okay, my director said this and I'm fine with it." We sign. They tell me to go training. It was more than 6 months since I hadn't put on cleats nor run. So I put my cleats on, hit the pitch, all goes well. Next day, come back, all still goes well. They told me, since it's short, we play on Friday, you're not qualified. Come train with the reserves. I'm okay. The next evening, they call me and say, "Maybe you'll be qualified after all." I get my license. The coach tells me, "I'll take you in the group. You won't play, but I'm taking you with me." It's just not even an hour by bus. I was in Dunkirk. I told him, "Okay, I'm in." I'm there. The team is down. There's 10 minutes left. The coach asks me, "Want to go in? It'll be like practice." I say, "Sure, why not?" He tells me to warm up. I run a little bit. He says, "Get in." It was nearly the last minute. We got a corner, and I score a goal. So he tells me, "Okay." I just look back a little, and I say, "You were in that situation. It was tough. It was complicated. And today, here you are running again." It wasn't even party, party, party. I don't know. I lived through the situation, so I measure. I was walking with crutches, so putting your foot down was tricky. And you come out of the church. You've got a visitor, Joseph Lopy. I really think it's just incredible.
Thank you so much, Joseph Lopy. So just to give context on what a dream is, it's a dream. It happens to us. Thanks for taking the time, Joseph Lopy, to be with us.
Thanks a lot for sharing your story and journey. We talked about injuries. I hope you're doing well today, Joseph Lopy.
Yeah, I had surgery on my ankle and adductor last season, but today it's doing much better. I didn't go on the training camp with the team just to finish working and wrap up some additional elements before rejoining the team, but it's going to be fine. This season, I hope it goes a lot better than last season.
Thank you. Thanks so much again. Enjoy this time with the family, Joseph Lopy, and thanks again for being on Fair FM.